Yeah, but of course you could have no sense at all that you're creating history when you're doing that. You're just six blokes having a great time, weren't you, basically?
Yes. I mean, it was just a job. I mean, it wasn't just a job. We knew that we were doing something that was slightly different from any other shows that were around. But we didn't know at the time whether it was just the six of us who thought it was incredibly funny, or there was a seventh person out there who would also find it funny. And I remember after the first show, when the audience was really quite quiet here, you know, I mean, there were a few laughs. We could always rely on John's wife, Connie, for a laugh, because Connie had this wonderful laugh. It was a kind of indrawn laugh, so slightly higher than that. So, you know, even if there were not many people laughing, Connie was laughing. You'd hear this in the background and be a ripple of laughter. But at the end of the first show, I remember it being very, very quiet. And I thought maybe we've made a colossal fool of ourselves in that career. But the BBC had given us 13 shows, so, I mean, you know, we had a chance to prove ourselves.
But, I mean, the BBC, I mean, hardly sort of backed you fulsomely, did they? I mean, there was the doubts among the executive here about this show. What was it all about?
Yes, I mean, they basically, I think, they shifted us to late on a Saturday night, when not many people would see it.
Yes.
They cut the budget quite tight, but they at least let us do it. But they got very... I mean, we were difficult. We were difficult, I know that. For instance, with the title of the show. We could never agree on a title of the show.
How did it come about?
Well, we wanted all sorts. We wanted something completely silly. We wanted It's. It was just going to be called It's. We didn't like that. Then we got a little bit more creative and came up with things like, I rather like the toad elevating moment and horse, a spoon and a bucket. No? Just as well we didn't use that. Anyway. So we wanted something conceptual. And the BBC said, no, it's got to be something that means something. We like Flying Circus. Why didn't you call it John Cleese's Flying Circus? Something like that. Well, John, quite rightly at that stage, didn't want to have his name attached to this show. But we did promise that we would think of a name to go with it. And we went through this rather nice procedure. And I found this wonderful name, which I found in my mother-in-law's Women's Institute magazine. It was just talking about various people. And it said there was a flower arranging talk at Loughborough, accompanied by Gwen Dibley on the piano. And I guess the name Gwen Dibley, rather liked it then. And so I suggested to the others, maybe you should just give this person the show, call it Gwen Dibley's Flying Circus, without telling her. It'd be rather nice, isn't it? Suddenly one morning the children come in and say, Mum, have you seen the Radio Times? You've got your own show. So we liked the idea of Gwen Dibley having her own show without knowing it. But then John, who was very legalistic, said she may sue. There may be problems with copyright. So that was out. And by that time, the BBC had about 4 different names for the show. One on the costumes, one on the contracts, you know, one on the vehicles that were going out. They said, we've got to coordinate. So we had to sit down one day. And we were in John Cleese's flat, which was actually, interestingly enough, in a place called Basil Street. This was before 40 Towers. Anyway, John lived in Basil Street, and I remember sitting on this very comfortable sofa, and we just thought of names, and someone came up with the name Python as a surname, and for some reason we liked that. But what was going to go with it? And I seem to remember it was Eric who came up with Monty. And Monty Python, we fell about, and the next morning, we gave it a day to see if it still worked, and the next morning we still thought it was funny. So we went to the BBC and said, we've got the title. They said yes. Monty Python's Flying Circus. Call it what you like, but I think in future you'll find it'll be called Flying Circus and not Monty Python. So that was it.
That was the end.
But anyway, I'm not complaining because they gave us the shows, and thank you, BBC.